As they were great mariners, they began to yearn for the west. The more joyful was their life, the more they began to long for the immortality of the Eldar. Thus they would desire to have more time to enjoy their crafts and what they've made. The first sign of the shadow was from Tar-Minastir, the 11th king. While Keraton, his son, scorned the yearnings of his father, he was able to ease the restless by voyaging. They've become greedy and restless. The Numenoreans first came to Middle-earth as teachers and friends of Middle-earth men. Tar-Minastir, the Great, was greedy and proud, much like his father. He would speak openly against the band of the Valar. The shadow deepened, and the Númenóreans' thirst for immortality grew greater. While the Valar rewarded the Dunedain with long life, they couldn't keep them from the weariness of the world. The Valar laid a ban on the Númenóreans from sailing west to Eressëa or Valinor, as such places made them enamored of a possibility of immortality. Against their law, the special doom or gift of Ilúvatar, God, and which their nature could not in fact endure. Thus, Eressëa and Valinor are known as immortal lands for the elves. There are three phases in their fall from grace: acquiescence, or willful obedience without understanding; increased murmuring as their obedience becomes unwilling; and rebellion causing a rift. A shadow fell upon the Númenóreans, and thus the murmuring begins. And they said among themselves, "Why do the lords of the west sit there in peace unending, while we must die, and go we know not whither, leaving our home and all that we have made? And the Eldar die not, even those that rebelled against the lords. And since we have mastered all seas, and no water is so wild or so wide that our ships cannot overcome it, why should we not go to Avalone and greet there our friends?" And some there were who said, "Why should we not go even to Aman, and taste there, were it but for a day, the bliss of the powers? Have we not become mighty among the people of Arda?" The elves reported it to the Valar, and Manwë was grieved. Afterwards he sent messengers to the Dunedain to spread his message. "The doom of the world," they said, "one alone can change who made it. And were you so to voyage that, escaping all deceits and snares, you came indeed to Aman, the blessed realm, little would it profit you. For it is not the land of Manwë that makes its people deathless, but the deathless that dwell therein have hallowed the land. And there ye would but wither and grow weary the sooner, as moths in a light too strong and steadfast." But the king said, "And does not Eärendil, my forefather, live, or is he not in the land of Aman?" To which they answered, "You know that he has the fate of part, and was a judge to the firstborn who die not. Yet this also is his doom, that he can never return again to mortal lands. Whereas you and your people are not of the firstborn, but are mortal men as Ilúvatar made you. Yet it seems that you desire now to have the good of both kindreds, to sail to Valinor when you will, and to return when you please to your homes. That cannot be, nor can the Valar take away the gifts of Ilúvatar. The Eldar, you say, are unpunished, and even those who rebelled do not die. Yet that is to them neither reward nor punishment, but the fulfillment of their being. They cannot escape, and are bound to this world, never to leave it so long as it lasts, for its life is theirs. And you are punished for the rebellion of men, you say, in which you had small part, and so it is that you die. But that was not at first appointed for a punishment. Thus you escape and leave the world, and are not bound to it in hope or in weariness. Which of us therefore should envy the others?" And the Númenóreans answered, "Why should we not envy the Valar, or even the least of the deathless? For of us is required a blind trust and a hope without assurance, knowing not what lies before us in a little while. And yet we also love the earth and would not lose it." Then the messengers said, "Indeed the mind of Ilúvatar concerning you is not known to the Valar, and he has not revealed all things that are to come. But this we hold to be true, that your home is not here, neither in the land of Aman, nor anywhere within the circles of the world. And the doom of men, that they should depart, was at first a gift of Iluvatar. It became a grief to them only because, coming under the shadow of Morgoth, it seemed to them that they were surrounded by a great darkness, of which they were afraid. And some grew willful and proud, and would not yield until life was reft from them. The messengers revealed that the mind of Iluvatar was not known to the Valar concerning the mortality of the Númenóreans, but they mainly knew that the Númenóreans were made not to achieve immortality, and the trip to Aman would not automatically grant them immortality, the latter which we will see later in Lord of the Rings, with certain mortals being selected to go to the Undying Lands. They will die eventually there at their natural lifespans. However, Tar-Minastir was still displeased, and so were the rest of the Númenóreans. However, he lived to a great age of 421 years, and was the first to escape death instead of waiting upon hope. Many followed his example, and Tar-Minastir became the unwilling. Ar-Pharazon would become king as the shadow grew deeper in Númenor, and due to their rebellion, the lives of the kings in the house of Elros had waned. They no longer spoke elven tongues, but they were maintained in secret by the faithful. While their power increased, their lifespans decreased due to their desire and thirst for immortality. Ar-Pharazon would begin to persecute the faithful who spoke the elven tongues, and the Eldar would no longer visit Númenor. The downfall of Númenor coincided with Ar-Pharazon's assailing of Valinor in 3319 of the Second Age, and the escape of Elendil and his sons. Ar-Pharazon hardened his heart, and he went aboard his mighty ship Al-Carandas, Castle of the Sea. Many oared it was, and many masted, golden and sable, and upon it the throne of Ar-Pharazon was set. Then he did on his panoply and his crown, and let raise his standard, and he gave the signal for the raising of his anchors, and in that hour the trumpets of Númenor outrang the thunder. After the Númenóreans' fleets moved west, Ar-Pharazon's fleets came up out of the deeps of the sea, encompassing Avalone and the Isle of Erisea. The elves mourned the loss of the light caused by the Númenóreans. Ar-Pharazon had almost turned back, but pride overtook him, and he left his ship for the shore, claiming the land for his own. He had convinced himself that he would be just like Eärendil, who had sailed west. However, the main difference was that Eärendil was half-elven, and the Númenóreans were mortal men. And thus, after Ar-Pharazon's assailing, Númenor itself on the edge of the rift topples and vanishes forever with all its glory in the abyss. Thereafter there is no visible dwelling of the divine or immortal on earth.